It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
Well, it's over, and I've got to admit, when I woke up on Wednesday morning, I had to turn on the TV and see if it was all a dream or not. This may have been the nastiest national election any of us has ever seen, but it's ended, and now it's time to pick up the pieces and come together as a country. And let's take a look at how things panned out as they pertain to the outdoors and the shooting sports. Number one, public lands access. A lot of Republicans are eager to transfer our public lands, Forest Service lands, BLM lands, over to state control. The problem is the states can't afford to run them, and they would be sold off, and we would lose access to these public lands. Fortunately, found a news item from the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers that indicates Donald Trump would veto any chance of that happening. His sons are both hunters, and they hunt on public land, and apparently Donald does recognize the value of these public lands and spaces for us in the outdoors community. So that's good news there. In terms of the Second Amendment, with Donald Trump as the president-elect, I think it's fair to say that at the federal level, gun control measures, you're not going to see them so much. The NRA did endorse Donald Trump. However, at the state level, gun control measures have passed in this election. Proposition 63, which we've told you about a couple times on this show, which is going to ban the possession of magazines that hold more than 10 rounds of ammunition and require people in the state of California to go through a background check, pay for a $50 permit before they can go and purchase ammunition at the local Walmart or hardware store or sporting goods store. Gun control measures also passed in the states of Washington and narrowly in the state of Nevada. There was an initiative that would ban trapping in the state of Montana. That went down in flames. Most people in Montana do recognize that trapping is an effective means to manage wildlife, and they saw through that, environmental group-sponsored initiative there. So it's a mixed bag, and we'll see what happens in the months and the year ahead. Enough about politics. Let's talk about duck hunting. I've actually got a series of migration reports from the western U.S. from the pro staff at Avery Outdoors. Thank you very much for that, Kent Contreras and all the other contributors. But I'll sum it up for you. It'll take about 15 seconds here. The birds have not migrated south yet. So there's hunters in California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, all waiting in this unseasonably warm weather we're having this November for the birds to come down. And that's not going to happen until we get more actual fall and winter-like weather. So be patient. Let's turn our attention to the show. The Bass Nation Championship is coming up this week at Lake Conroe, Texas. It's a chance for amateur anglers from all over the country to compete for a chance to win a bass boat and to get into the Professional Bassmaster Elite Series. We'll be talking to one of the anglers competing at this tournament, Oregon angler David Mays. Are you a fan of the hit TV show Deadliest Catch? If so, you won't want to miss our conversation with Nick Sunshine Tokman, who was seen during several seasons fishing with the crew of the Northwestern. Nick will tell you all about his experiences as an Alaska crab fisherman and what's next for him in life. In addition to talking to Nick about Alaska crabbing, we'll talk to Gary Morales. He is the founder of Shasta Tackle, and he's going to tell you about November trout fishing in Northern California. There is some incredible fishing to be found in some of the lakes here this month, and Gary will tell you not only what lakes to fish for 2 to 6 pound rainbow trout, but also how to catch them. From California, we head to Northeast Washington. That's where you'll find Andy Hydorn. He is the owner of Benny's Colville Inn, which is the perfect base camp to set out from every day for some of the best deer and turkey hunting you will find in the Northwest, along with some great and varied fishing opportunities in nearby rivers and lakes. As always, we've got a whole slate of outdoors news for you. Our outdoors news includes a story about a judge who's trying to figure out whether the winner of the White Marlin Open in Maryland should be awarded $2.8 million or be disqualified. We'll also tell you about a place where you used to be able to catch 400-pound salmon. I kid you not. And an update for our Trail of Shame segment this week. It promises to be a fun show indeed, and let's kick it off with a conversation about bass fishing. Next up on America Outdoors Radio, we're going to talk bass tournament fishing, the Nation Championship coming up really soon. It's taking place on Lake Conroe in East Texas between November 17th and the 19th, and we are talking to one of the anglers who's going to be competing in this championship bass tournament today. His name is David Mays, and he hails from the great state of Oregon. David, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Why don't you explain to our listeners what the Bass Nation Championship is all about? Because this is a way, I understand, of amateurs qualifying to compete with the pros.
Yeah, basically that's exactly what it is. So in every state all across the country, you have a Bass Nation, and they throw a certain amount of tournaments per year for their members, and basically the top 10 finishers on the non-boater side and the top 10 top 10 finishers on the boater side, they all qualify to move on to the next tournament, which is the regional tournament. At the regional tournament, the top finisher from each state on the boater and non-boater side qualified to move on to fish at the Nation Championship, which this year, as you said, is at Lake Conroe in Texas. And then from there, the top 3 finishers on the boater side at the Nation Championship all win a brand new bass boat. And then the overall winner actually earns a berth into the Elite Series, which is the pro circuit next year. And they also get a wrapped vehicle and another boat to use for the whole next year to fish that circuit. So, and also to add to that, on the final day of the Nation Championship, the highest qualifying non-boater or the highest weight non-boater for the tournament gets to fish as a boater for the final day to have a chance to qualify in the top 3 as well. So it's not just the boaters who have a chance. The non-boaters have the same opportunity to move on. It is just 1 instead of 3.
Wow, this sounds exciting, and the competition's going to be fierce, and it's from all over, not just the country, but the world. 113 anglers from 47 states and 9 countries will be competing in this championship. And I've got to ask you, David, you're with the Eugene Bassmasters, and this has got to be, fishing East Texas, a 21,000-acre reservoir, has got to be a little bit different than fishing for smallmouth and largemouth bass in the Beaver State.
Yeah, it actually is. I actually went down about a month ago before the cutoff to just take my boat down and stuff and pre-fish for a few days. And, it's definitely nothing like out here. It's a very shallow lake. A lot of the areas 200-300 yards from the bank, you might only be sitting in 3 or 4 feet of water. So that's completely different than what we're used to fishing out here. I like fishing deeper and rocks, and this lake is a lot of silt with a stump here or a drop off there, and that is the type of stuff that holds fish. You just have to find that stuff, and with a limited amount of time, it's going to make it tough, but I'm ready to give it a shot and see how I do.
So I got to ask you about tactics when it comes to fishing this reservoir in November. Are we talking about drop shotting? Are we talking swim baits? Are we talking crankbaits, spinner baits? What are you going to do?
I'll probably be throwing a lot of crankbaits. It's a lake that's pretty well known for the cranking. Jigs, your main big Texas, the southern way of fishing for bass. It's going to be a lot different, like I said, from out here, but I think I can use some of the stuff that we do out here. I just have to adapt it to what they do out there. So spinner baits will be a big factor, top waters. The fish should be following the shad up into the creeks, into the shallow water this time of year, but you never know. It's been pretty warm down there up until about last week. The temperatures were up in the mid-80s still during the day. I know it dropped down into the 70s this week, so I'm hoping that will make the fish make that transition to start coming shallow, because they seem to be more deep. At least the fish that I was catching in pre-fish were more on the deeper side.
Well, David, having been born in Eugene, Oregon myself, I will be rooting for you during this tournament, and if you win, we're going to get you back on the air. In the meantime, folks, check out Bassmaster.com to find out about this championship tournament and all sorts of other tournaments. David, thanks so much for telling us about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Oh, no problem at all. I appreciate it.
Master Marine in Mount Vernon, Washington specializes in fishing and fun. We offer 7 brands of boats, including Osprey, Sea Sport, Sea Dory, Tomcat, Lund, Weldcraft, and Thunderjet. We also offer Suzuki, Yamaha, and Mercury motors. In other words, no matter what you're fishing for, we've got the boat for you. Drop by Master Marine at 330 East Blackburn Road in Mount Vernon to see what's on the lot, or go online to mastermarine.com. That's mastermarine.com.
Jim Houston inviting you on a West Coast wilderness vacation to Duncanby Lodge. From the moment you fly right to the dock, you'll notice the Duncanby difference. It's your vacation. Fish on your own or with a guide, catch the bite when you're ready. No set meal times here. Dine off an extensive menu when you want. And this, in a setting just off the entrance to Majestic Rivers Inlet. Come on up this summer and enjoy a few days where time, date, and currency mean absolutely nothing. Check us out at duncanby.com.
Timberline Range Camps are known for their rugged, durable, well-insulated range camp trailers. Don't think of these as an RV. They're an RV on steroids that will last you a lifetime. They are comfortable, too, fitted with all the amenities you would expect, and they even include a wood stove. Timberline Range Camps can be used as a hunting camp or a towable home to take you to your remote getaway. One thing is for sure, all your friends will be envious of your towable range camp trailer. Find out more at sheepcamps.com. That's sheepcamps.com for Timberline Range Camps.
Service is always cheaper than repair. That's a truism from Ken Estes at Cascade Marine Center in Portland, Oregon. Go ahead and drop by and see Cascade Marine for all of the parts, accessories, and honest advice you need to keep your boat and motor running. No one wants to be the guy plugging the boat ramp up because his boat doesn't start. So head down to Cascade Marine Center in Portland, or give them a call, or check out their website at cascademarinecenter.com. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and this portion of the show is brought to you every week by California Sportsman Magazine. It is the publication that comes out every month that covers the hunting and fishing scene throughout California. Look for it at a newsstand near you. Speaking of California, and speaking specifically of Northern California, when it comes to this time of year, a lot of people think steelhead, but don't give up on trout. With us here to tell you where you can catch trout this month in Northern California is Gary Morales. He is the founder of Shasta Tackle Company, which is now operating under the Max Lure Company umbrella, and Gary is now with Max Lure Company. Gary, welcome to the show.
It's good to talk to you.
Gary, you wrote a great article in the Mac Attack newsletter this month about fall fishing in Northern California, and you mentioned a couple lakes in particular. Let's go ahead and start off with your home lake, so to speak, Shasta Lake. What kind of fishery is this in November for trout?
Well, Shasta Lake has pretty much been my playground for my entire life, and I have to say it is actually one of the best trout fisheries in the state. They have a large population of native rainbows as well as a lot of planted fish as well. And that lake really comes on fire in November. The fish have been deep all summer feeding on the abundant shad schools. And then as the surface cools, these fish come right up on the surface chasing the shad, which will be right on top. And it's fabulous fishing because you can see the fish just actively feeding on the bait in along the shoreline. You can get in there and troll right along the banks and over the shallow points. And I tell you, it's not uncommon to catch 25 fish a day that are weighing anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds in that lake.
Oh my gosh, what an incredible fishery. And I'm guessing, just like most fall trout fisheries, that the waters probably aren't too crowded because everybody's out there chasing steelhead, or they've picked up their guns and they're out deer hunting or bird hunting.
Yeah, you got that one right. I've been out on that lake. Of course, it's a huge lake. But I've been out on that lake in the late fall months and not even seen another boat out there and catching fish, that you can only imagine.
Now, you mentioned another lake in this article over by Susanville, Eagle Lake. Tell our listeners about this one. I'm not familiar with Eagle Lake.
Well, Eagle Lake is kind of isolated when you talk about Northern California because it's in the northeastern part of the state, about 20, 30 minutes north of a little town of Susanville. But the unique thing about this lake is it has a population of rainbow trout that grow only in that lake, and they get to some good size in there. That lake will produce fish, averaging 2-4 pounds, and occasionally you get a fish over 6, maybe even 7 pounds in there.
Wow.
The only downside to fishing this lake is, being winter months, it's at 5,000 foot elevation. It's about a 22,000 acre lake, and it can get quite cold and snowy up there. It's nice to have a heater with you if you run up there, and definitely want to check your road conditions and that before you go up to the area to fish. But what's unique about that lake is in the winter months, in the fall months, early winter or whatever, the fish move in from the lower end of the lake, the south end of the lake, in the deeper water, which this lake is only about 60 feet deep. And they'll move up into the shallow areas up to the northern part of the lake, which is above the little town of Spalding.
Okay.
And you get up in there, and it's only about 12 feet of water in there, so it's real shallow. So what we're primarily doing when we're going after these big rainbows in there is top lining. And typically I like to run up to the Half Moon Bay. There's Bucks Bay, Truxell Bay, and then the North Basin, which the North Basin has been really shallow, or if not even in existence for the last couple of years because of the drought. But they are getting water back in those areas now, and it could get better fishing up there again. But if you stay in the lower bays, you'll be right in around the tules there. There's a lot of tules along the shoreline there. What I like to do is I like to set up a spread of 4 rods. Typically I'll run 100 to 150 feet behind the boat with the Crippler, which is a lure I invented when I was 16 years old, and it's probably my favorite trout lure.
Love it.
And then I'll run on the surface a couple of humdingers or a wiggle hoochie with a split shot in front of it about 200 feet behind the boat. And then I'll just run in right alongside those tules, and boy, those fish will be in there just waiting to ambush, the tui chub that are in that lake. And tell you can catch some really nice fish doing that.
Well, we have got to go, but Gary, thanks for telling our listeners about these 2 great fisheries. Folks, 2 to 4 to 6 pound trout in Northern California. They're waiting for you this month at Shasta Lake and Eagle Lake. If you want to find out more about what lures to use, go to maxlure.com, sign up for the free Mac Attack newsletter, and check out the article that Gary has written about this subject. Gary, thanks so much for sharing this with us on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you for calling.
And now we've got a Trail of Shame update for you.
It's time for the Trail of Shame.
Shame, shame on you. Shame, shame on you.
Stories of poachers, scoundrels, and other ne'er-do-wells, so if you see someone committing a criminal act on the water or in the field, turn them in. It's the right thing to do.
Do you remember our very first episode of America Outdoors Radio? On our very first Trail of Shame segment, we highlighted 5 men from Vancouver, BC, young men that were part of a clothing company called High on Life, and they called themselves High on Life Sunday Fun Days. They got a big blue bus, and they toured the United States, spent a lot of time in our national parks and national monuments. Well, it turns out they also spent a lot of time breaking the rules in our national parks and national monuments. They went off trail in the Geyser Basin of Yellowstone National Park, did some damage to the environment there. They were water skiing over Bonneville Salt Flats and did some more damage there. And they broke other rules in national parks in Colorado, Nevada, and Utah. Well, the federal government, in terms of the National Park Service and Bureau of Land Management, they investigated and they issued warrants for their arrest. From the Jackson Hole News and Guide, we learn the 5 made a deal to come over to the States and appear in court so they wouldn't be arrested as soon as they got into the country. And 2 of them have pled guilty now. One of them is Hamish McNabb Campbell Cross. He pled guilty to foot travel in a thermal area at Yellowstone National Park and disorderly conduct. He is going to pay $8,000 in fines and will be on probation for 5 years. Cross was also banned from all federal lands administered by the Bureau of Land Management, the Interior Department, and the Army Corps of Engineers. Parker Huser also pled guilty to bicycling in wilderness and commercial photography without a permit based on incidents in Death Valley. He also pleaded guilty to charges of off-road travel and creating a hazard at the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah. He's paying $1,100 in fines. There's 3 other defendants who have so far pled not guilty, and the United States Attorney is contemplating jail time for them. And if they do have jail time, they'll likely serve it at the Bighorn County Detention Center. They are all accused of filming themselves walking in restricted areas of Yellowstone National Park and then posting the photos and videos online. We love having people visit our national parks from all over the world, but hey, especially you, High on Life Sunday Fun Day guys, behave. Follow the rules. They're there for a reason, and don't trash our national monuments. And that's why, once again, you're featured on this week's Trail of Shame.
Shame on you.
Stick around. In just a minute, we'll be talking to Nick Tokman about his experiences on the Northwestern and on that hit television series, Deadliest Catch.
Salmon Catcher Lodge in Kenai, Alaska is offering an early Christmas present. Contact 907-335-2001 for details. Salmon Catcher Lodge has been featured on Larry Zonka's Napa's North to Alaska series several times and is the proud recipient of the Sportsman's News Platinum Trophy Lodge Award. Fish all that Alaska has to offer and return each night to a truly 5-star lodge. Large groups welcome. For details, go to salmoncatcherlodge.com or call 907-335-2001.
Oregon's Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the West Coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay. Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is sponsored by the Alaska Sporting Journal. It is a monthly publication that covers the hunting, fishing scene in Alaska and much more. Pick up a copy at a newsstand near you. Speaking of Alaska, you've seen this guy on the hit TV show Deadliest Catch. He's the guy with a smile on his face with the nickname of Sunshine. He's a man who follows his dreams. No matter how difficult they may be, he is the one and only Nick Tokman. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, John.
Nick, you've got a very compelling story about following your dreams and getting over some big road bumps along the way. I mean, you were in college and you weren't that happy and you saw Deadliest Catch and you basically decided to become a crab fisherman. What happened next?
I just saw it on TV. It looked like fun. I really wanted to try it, and I fought with my family back and forth to go up there. I mean, of course, they weren't really exactly for me going up there because I was going up without a job or a place to stay. But I had the realization it was my life and I had to live it for me. So I decided I'd buy a plane ticket. I went up there. Initially, it wasn't really easy for me. I mean, I was camping out in the woods for a few weeks, and then I stayed at a homeless shelter one night. Then I was staying at random people's houses. I ran out of money. I actually pawned the gold necklace that my mom gave to me and worked for several questionable characters and everything. It definitely wasn't easy, but I just kept my head up and just kept going after what I wanted.
You know, I can't believe, I've heard people who've tried to do similar things before, and a lot of times it ends up with a phone call to mom and dad, say, please send me a plane ticket so I can come home, but you just didn't give up.
No, I think it was just like I just wanted to prove it to myself that I can do it. I just figured basically I had I had a plane ticket up there, and I just was set that I was just going to make this work.
So you ended up on probably the most famous boat in the series, the Northwestern. But before you got on the Northwestern, you were on a couple of other boats. Tell me about those experiences there.
First boat I got on, I quickly left because the captain of the boat put fuel in the water tank, causing it to stall right in the middle of the harbor. I left that boat. Next guy was like a druggie who couldn't stop screaming his head off, so I quickly left that boat. Had another guy known as the Frying Pan Man because 8 years back he hit a crew member over the head with a frying pan and threw him over the side to try to kill him.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't know I was working for that guy. I actually ended up having a staph infection on my knee. I spent 1 week in the hospital. I lost my job, but that actually turned out to be my biggest blessing because the guy that replaced me, he had a seal bomb thrown in his bunk, which it's kind of like a tiny stick of dynamite. It blew up a chunk of his stomach. It sent him to the hospital, the captain in jail, and the boat ended up getting seized by the Coast Guard. So if it wasn't for that staph infection, I could have been that guy. But those were some of the crazy boats that I worked on in the beginning. I mean, it definitely wasn't easy. But after a while, I started getting my reputation. I began to know, what boats were the good boats, and I picked up from there, and I started getting working with good guys.
Well, Sig Hansen's boat, the Northwestern, certainly has a reputation of being one of the best, if not the best. What was it like working for Sig?
If you do your job, he's the best guy to work for. I mean, the whole crew, they're great. I mean, they just have a professional attitude. They get up. I mean, it's all business there. Well, I mean, they have fun, they joke around and everything. But I mean, if you do your job, it's the best boat to work on. If you don't, then they're gonna eat you alive and they're gonna send you back to the docks. But no, I mean, we'd get up every morning or whatever hour. We'd probably put in at least a 20-hour day. Then we'd shut down for around 4 hours, get back up, do it again. And I mean, he definitely pushed you, but I mean, it made it fun working with the guys.
Wow. So here's a question for you. Let's talk about a day in the life of an Alaska crab fisherman on the Northwestern. So we'll start up with, you've just woken up from a big booming 4 hours of sleep. Is somebody cooking for you? Is there actually a cook on board, or are you guys just fending for yourselves?
Right. When you first get up, normally some of the guys will have like a cup of coffee or something. I just have a little protein bar or whatever, and I go right to work. We do have a cook on the boat. On the Northwestern, it was Matt Bradley at the time, and he was an amazing cook. I mean, he could have a meal ready within minutes. And but yeah, like in between strings, we usually have 2 meals in a day, and then we'd go right back to work. But usually something around lunch, and then right before bed we'd have something for dinner.
They always film pulling in the strings, and so I think people have a glimpse into what that's like. But what happens in between? What happens during those times where you're not pulling in the crab pots and sorting the crabs?
Right. So a string normally takes about 2.5 hours to haul. Then after, you have about a 15-20 minute break. If there's something wrong with the boat, you go fix it. If you need to organize something or clean, if the galley's a little dirty, you'll clean that up. And if everything's in order, then you'll just take a quick 10-minute power nap and then get right back to work.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty much what you do on your break.
And how long do you keep up this pace of these 20-hour days?
My first season for Opelio crab was 5 months long, with the exception of a 14-day break. So that was my first season. Usually, that was an exceptionally long season. We were just dead by the end of it all. I mean, we were waking up like, oh my God. But usually, it's about 2.5, 3 months in this season.
That's a long time to go with very little sleep. But with that in mind, there's always good days and bad days. What was your best day as an Alaska crab fisherman that really stands out for you?
Best day, I would say, my first day getting on the Northwestern. Right before then, I lost my job because I made an honest accidental mistake. I put water in the fuel tank and I lost my job. And nothing was going my way. And I got on that boat and I was just bawling my eyes out. I was so happy. Like, all the guys went inside, and I was crying. Like, the camera guy came out and said, "What's going on?" But and I had to tell him. But just after everything I went through, staying in a shelter, random people's houses, worked for several questionable characters. Even pawning the gold necklace that my mom gave to me, I finally get on the boat that gets me up to Alaska, and it was just that was just huge for me because it just meant so much. The boat gets you up to Alaska, and after everything you go through, you're finally on that boat.
So obviously, Your career as a crab fisherman has been a successful one. You've gotten lots of exposure. You've made some good money, but I understand you're embarking on a new career. It's time to go a different direction.
Yeah, I'm actually leaving the show. I'm turning down a huge paying job. I'm leaving the show to pursue speaking with kids. I mean, this is what I really want to do. It's a huge passion of mine. My message isn't anything, probably nothing heard before. It's just, I'm just encouraging, I want to encourage a student to have the confidence to be who they are, and I want them to go after what they want in life and just to not give up in whatever it is that they want to achieve. I mean, that's just the simple message. But I mean, I had a lot of friends growing up that, they did anything to be, except they want to be that stereotypical cookie cutter cool kid in the white T-shirt and the blue jeans, and they're neglecting who they are just to be that popular kid. And then before you know it, they're neglecting who they are, and they're in a rundown apartment complex trying to find any job they can get their hands on, some with a kid on the way. And I just don't want to see that happen to the students, because a lot of my friends, I mean, they never left the area where I grew up in, and they're just stuck working at a job they hate. And I feel that if they have the confidence to be who they are, then and they can go after what they want, and then their true gift is actually brought out into the world. And that's what I really, really want to do. I really believe in this. I'm nervous as heck about, leaving everything all to do this, but this is what I really want to do.
Well, based on what you've told me about your life and your ability to follow your dreams, I have no doubt you're going to be a great success, and you've got a great message to share. Folks, if you want to find out more about Nick Tokman, go to his website. It's Nick Tokman, spelled TOKMAN.com. That's nicktokman.com, and find out more about this inspirational speaker, and you might even want to book him for an event near you. Nick, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you so much.
Tom and Jerry's Boat Center in Mount Vernon is Washington's largest Hughes Craft and Kingfisher aluminum boat dealer. As a leader in sales, service, and fun on the water, Tom and Jerry's only purpose is to make sure you end up with the right boat for your family's needs at a price that will make you smile. Whether it's a new Hughes Craft or Kingfisher or a new Yamaha or Honda outboard, Tom and Jerry's can take care of all your needs. Check us out at tomandjerrys.net, and we'll see you on the water.
Looking for the safest, most stable riding boat on the market? Welcome to Stabicraft. Born in New Zealand, Stabicraft has a built-in reputation for making the most seaworthy boats on the market. Heavy gauge aluminum chambered boats with models ranging from 14 to 29 feet in a variety of configurations to suit all your needs. Check out the all-new 2750 center cab, a walk-around design for the Northwest market, and packed with industry-leading features to suit all types of fishing, allowing you to adventure with confidence. Book a test ride today at stabicraft.com.
So let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was traveling up to the Cowlitz River to do a little steelhead fishing. Right about this time of year, I hit a sheet of black ice, and in a matter of seconds, I had $50,000 worth of boat laying in a ditch upside down. My first call was to my insurance company, a company that if you own a boat, you need to know about. The company is called the Boat Insurance Agency, and they're located right here in the Northwest. In a very short amount of time, my totaled boat, a situation that could have sunk me, was resurrected and made right. I've since learned that my outcome isn't always the case for others, which is why you need to be sure your boat insurance is being handled by boat insurance experts. This is what they do, folks. Visit them on the web at boatinsurance.net. That's boatinsurance.net. The Boat Insurance Agency. Hey, this is a call you have to make. You need to know that your boat is really covered. boatinsurance.net.
Frontier Tactical's Warlock multiple caliber system allows you to retrofit your AR-15 rifle to shoot up to 60 different calibers with the same upper and lower receiver. The Warlock is compatible with most off-the-shelf AR-15 components, which means you get to build your rifle the way you want to. Whether you're into predator hunting, hog hunting, deer hunting, or self-defense, the Warlock multiple caliber system lets you do it all. Find out more about this innovative, made in the USA product at frontiertactical.com.
Got a box full of inside the waistband holsters you bought but hate to use? Well, so did we. That's why two Nates created Nate Squared Tactical. We manufacture the most comfortable IWB holsters on the market. Just ask our customers. They love our patented design that completely isolates you from your handgun. And our holsters are handcrafted in Lexington, North Carolina, with the highest quality materials. It's time to throw that box out and replace it with your very own Nate Squared holster. Find out more at n82tactical.com.
Did you check out this month's edition of Northwest Sportsman Magazine? It's the best publication out there that covers the fishing and hunting scene. Northwest Sportsman Magazine has got great content you need to have to be successful. Pick up a copy at a newsstand near you. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and this portion of the show is sponsored by the American Shooting Journal. It is the monthly publication that covers the firearms scene throughout North America. If you're into firearms, whether it be pistols, rifles, whether it be hunting rifles, whether they be tactical weapons, this is the publication for you. It's the American Shooting Journal. Look for it at a newsstand near you. Got an interesting story about tournament ethics from the Baltimore Sun. A judge is going to decide whether the winner of the White Marlin Open should be disqualified after organizers in Ocean City, Maryland said the man who was initially declared the winner of a $2.8 million first prize failed a lie detector test. The big winner of this year's tournament, Philip Heasley of Naples, Florida, caught the winning 76.5-pound White Marlin, but later failed 2 polygraph tests, according to court filings. Heasley was not awarded the prize money, and organizers are asking a federal judge to be allowed to redistribute the $2.8 million first prize to 13 competitors who won other categories during the tournament. Billed as the world's largest billfish tournament, the tournament spans a week in August and takes place offshore from Ocean City. There's no oversight on the open water, so those who win $50,000 or more are required by contest rules to take a polygraph test. The complaint accuses Heasley of using quote-unquote countermeasures during the polygraph test and alleges he was, again quoting here, deceptive when he responded to questions about whether he violated the fishing tournament rules and whether he had been untruthful in his answers to the polygraph test questions. Heasley and 3 others aboard his boat where the winning marlin was caught all failed the polygraph examination. The complaint says that on the catch report, where participants marked down when a fish was caught, it appeared the time written down had been changed from 8:15 a.m. to 9:05 a.m. That's a problem because you can't catch fish before 8:30 in the morning to qualify for this tournament. Heasley, on his part, has denied committing any violation and questioned the validity of the polygraph tests. He also noted he was presented a first-place trophy and check at the awards ceremony held the Saturday after the week-long event that identified him as the rightful winner. As to the incorrect time on the catch report, his attorneys wrote it was an error and it was changed to reflect the correct time that the winning white marlin was caught. Heasley did not respond for requests for comment. Why do they have the polygraph tests? Well, because unfortunately, there is cheating that happens in some tournaments. One example in the story in the Sun was stories about fishermen who would catch a fish days before a competition and keep it on ice. Another trick that's been used? Sticking ice cubes down the fish's gullet to add weight. And I know in the bass world, there's been more than a few bass weighed on the scale that have had some lead poured into their gullet too. And that is why they have polygraph tests for this tournament, and that's why it's all in the hands of a judge now to decide. We'll let you know what happens once we know. In our next story, we take you back to the good old days. You know, the days when you can stand on the banks of a California river and reel in a giant spike-tooth salmon that weighs almost 400 pounds while looking at your fellow fishermen who all happen to be prehistoric bears. You see, these now extinct salmon spawned in California rivers somewhere between 5 and 11 million years ago. The fish measured up to 9 feet long. They had spike-like teeth that were more than an inch long. You wouldn't want to lip those fish, that's for sure. Scientists believe the unusual spiky teeth were likely used to fight, helping them defend their fertilized eggs, or they could have been used to display a sign of dominance. Proof about the existence of these salmon was shared at the annual Society of Vertebrate Paleontology in Salt Lake City on October 27th. Our thanks to Live Science and Fox News for this story. Next on America Outdoors Radio, we're taking you to a great place in this country of ours to go fishing, to go hunting, to go hiking, to go biking. It's located in the northeast portion of Washington State. It's Colville, Washington. And with us here to tell you more about outdoor recreation opportunities and a great place to have a base camp at is Andy Hydorn with Benny's Colville Inn. Andy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much, John.
You know, Colville, especially when it comes to hunting in the fall and in the spring, you've got the best whitetail hunting in the state, and you certainly have the best turkey hunting in the state too, don't you?
This is true. We're pretty blessed in the corner of the state over here.
And it's kind of funny because in Washington State, you know, you got black-tailed deer that are west of the Cascades. You got mule deer through much of eastern Washington, but in your neck of the woods, it's predominantly white-tailed deer, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. It's predominantly whitetail. Mule deer are around the area, but not as many as, of course, like through the middle of the state.
Well, I know a lot of folks all over the state come to your area specifically for the great deer hunting and the great turkey hunting because far and away the best harvest for both species happens right there in the area you call home. But there's more than hunting. You've got some great fishing in the area too, don't you?
Oh, there's great fishing. A lot of trout fishing around our area, a lot of lakes, streams for trout fishing. Then we have the Columbia River or Lake Roosevelt behind Grand Coulee Dam there. A lot of walleye fishing,
right?
As well as a little bit of bass fishing. Northern part of the river, as you get north of Kettle Falls and go up toward Northport, there's a lot of rainbow fishing as well.
As a matter of fact, folks, Lake Roosevelt might well be one of the best fisheries in the Northwest. You've got really big kokanee. You've got very healthy-sized rainbow trout. The walleye fishing has consistently been good for years. And like you said, there's bass too. And that's just one lake. You've got, going the other way. When you're heading east on Highway 20, you've got the Little Pend Oreille lakes, and those are all stocked with trout too, aren't they?
Oh, yes, that's correct. And as you go out of town from Colville Hill here, all on east of 20 there, you have Starvation, and then Black Lake is out there as well. Then you hit the Little Pend Oreille lakes. So it's great fishing.
Well, and the scenery there, especially at the Little Pend Oreille lakes, I just love fishing there. In fact, I need to go back. It's been about 5 years since I've been there, and just talking to you reminds me I'm overdue. And let's talk about one other thing. Hiking, bicycling, both also popular pursuits in the summertime there.
Oh, yeah, lots of hiking and biking around the area. Most of the trails around our area are multi-purpose as far as hiking and biking. Some even share horseback riding. Well, actually, quite a few of them share horseback riding. I've actually mountain biked quite a few of the trails around here. Lots of fun to see the scenery, and of course, being an avid outdoor sportsman as I am and hunter, I'm always looking at the terrain and looking for hunting spots.
So we've established the fact that the area around Colville is really a year-round destination, no matter what you like to do outdoors. Let's talk about Benny's Colville Inn as a base camp. Tell us a little bit about the property that you manage there.
Well, I'm actually third-generation owner here at the property.
Wow.
My grandfather, Benny, started the business and, of course, grew and expanded and renovated and expanded some more over the years, and now we're up to 106 guest rooms, anywhere from just a basic room that you'll get for about $59 up to deluxe jacuzzi suites for about $179. So real diverse property, if you will, real flexible, and it's family-owned, so you get that family comfort along with it.
Well, I love that, and I love the fact that, being there as long as you have, lots of institutional knowledge, so if people are looking for ideas on things to do, you're a great resource for them. You got some nice amenities, too. You got an indoor pool, and I understand free breakfast, too.
Yes, indeed. We do have that indoor pool. It's a real large indoor pool and jacuzzi tub, great for families and kids especially. Then the free breakfast here. Our breakfast, actually, we kind of cater, of course, in the hunting seasons, we really cater to the sportsmen, and our breakfast starts at 5 a.m. During turkey season in the spring, we actually start that at 4:30 because most of the turkey hunters are out the door by 5 o'clock, and so we want to, help them out in that manner. We start that a little early. Of course, we have the Wi-Fi, the smart TVs, some of your big city accommodations here in our small town.
Well, Andy, you sold me on it. And folks, if you want to find out more about recreating in the Colville area and staying at Benny's Colville Inn, just go to their website. It's Colville, spelled COLVILLE, inn.com. That's colvilleinn.com. Andy, thanks for sharing this with us on America Outdoors Radio.
Well, thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast. We certainly covered a lot of ground and a lot of water. If you get a chance, go to our website. You'll find it at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. And if you missed part of last week's show, you can catch it there. You can also hear our show on an internet radio station. It's called WRVO Radio, and the website for that one, RenoViolaOutdoors.com. Finally, don't forget to follow us and like us on Facebook, too. Simply go to America Outdoors Radio. We're actually going to be giving away a pair of Leupold BX1 Rogue binoculars to one lucky person who likes our page and posts on the posts that we have there where the binoculars are, what state they're from. Once we hit 1,100 likes, maybe even drop down to 1,000 likes, we're going to go ahead and give away that pair of binoculars. That Facebook page again, America Outdoors Radio. This being Veterans Day weekend, I hope you'll make it a point to tell those who have served how much you appreciate them. They've given up a lot so that we can live in freedom here in the U.S. of A. I hope you also get out there and enjoy some of the great hunting and fishing opportunities we've told you about today. Remember, it's your country and your outdoors.